This is the 2016 MacBook Pro 13-inch with Touch Bar. Now this laptop has had a ton of controversy and a ton of problems that have been reported. Now some people are saying that this laptop is not worth the upgrade and that you should just hold out and get an older model, or just wait until the next year or whenever it is that they come out with the next model. Now let's talk about the thing that I wish they never took out of the laptop. This is the biggest mistake made by Apple, and it is removing the glowing Apple logo. The build quality on this laptop is insane. Now they really stepped up the game with this laptop. The previous generation models I thought had great build quality, but they're no match to what this one has. This is a fully metal laptop, and a huge plus is that the hinge is not plastic anymore. It's fully metal. Now I've broken a few hinges on previous models because it was plastic, and now since it's fully metal, now I won't have any problems, and it feels very sturdy, and I feel very confident in the hinge and the entire build quality of the laptop. Now the speakers on this laptop are amazing. They're really good for a laptop, but the speakers on the side of the keyboard are kind of an illusion because I don't think they actually play sound out of them, because if I cover both up with my hands, I can still hear the audio perfectly fine. So I think it's coming from under the keyboard, but it's still really good. So this is a Pro laptop, hence the name MacBook Pro. And the specs are, this is the baseline 13-inch with the Touch Bar. So it has a 2.9 gigahertz dual-core Intel Core i5 processor. It's you can get up to 3.3 gigahertz. It has 8 gigs of memory. Wish it had 16. It's got a 256 gig SSD, which is insanely fast. It's got Intel Iris Graphics 500 and 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports, or known as USB-C. The trackpad is probably the biggest trackpad I have ever seen on a laptop. It's bigger than my Samsung Galaxy S7, and it's way bigger than any MacBook Pro trackpad I've ever seen. And it's great. I can use gestures just fine. It's actually great for gestures. The only problem I have is that it is a force touch trackpad, so there's just not really much support for this type of trackpad. So I kind of find it as a gimmick right now until they get more support. Now this keyboard, there's been a lot of good and bad things said, but I personally fell in love the first time I used this keyboard. This keyboard is amazing. The backlighting is very, very good. The travel is not a lot, but the keys are way bigger, and the sound is more satisfying. It's more satisfying to type on. And I really like how big the keys are and how they actually fill up the entire, space of the laptop as much as they could. But the thing that hurts me the most is the arrow keys. The arrow keys, especially for someone with OCD like me, just kill me every time I look at it. But other than that, the keyboard is amazing. So the display on this laptop is the same as previous generation MacBook Pros, but the screen this time has an improved color gamut, so the colors literally jump off the screen at you. The colors are amazing. That's the best thing I have to say about this display, is the colors. And since the improved color gamut, you have a better viewing angle of the screen. So I could see the screen from any angle, and I really enjoy and love watching time lapses on this display. They look great. So something you might have heard about this laptop is that there's no USB ports. Well, that's kind of true. There's 4 USB-C ports, but there's no USB A ports. And this may be a huge factor for you, because basically everything we use today, you'd need an adapter for. So that means anything with a USB-A connector, any HDMI, any SD cards, anything. And the adapters are really, really expensive. Like this one I have here is $50, and that's after a price cut because customers were not buying the MacBooks because of this port problem, and they wanted to just cut it in half so people would not have to spend so much on adapters. But this adapter here with my SD card reader, if I plug it into the adapter, the SD card goes in sideways and completely blocks the USB-C port and HDMI port. So then I have to get another adapter, and it just kind of all around sucks. But I can see why they did it, and I'm not too mad about it just because I can buy adapters and I already have a few laying around. So now we're to the part you've probably been waiting for, the touch bar. Now the touch bar is a touch screen at the top of the keyboard that's matte black, which is really good for fingerprints, and there's also a Touch ID sensor to the far right that works the same as an iPhone would, and it's actually a button that works as a physical power button, so that if you have to force shut down your computer, you're still able to do that. Now, if you want to get to your function keys like F1, F2, yada yada, if you just press the FN key on your keyboard, the entire row will change to the function keys, and then if you let go, it goes back to normal. Now, the reason I don't really like the touch bar is just because of the lack of support. I mean, the only apps that you can use it with are Apple apps. Google Chrome doesn't support it, only Safari does, so that's kind of a bummer. I mean, it is cool to scroll through the colors to change your text, but how useful is that? And also, what also kind of sucks is that you can't change the brightness on the touch bar. So if it's dark and you change your keyboard brightness down, you'll just be blinded by the brightness of the touch bar. Another really nice feature that they could have had, and also it is really nice so when you're not using the touch bar, you can have a set preset of what controls you want to show up, and if you just tap them, you can just get to a slider menu, which is way easier than just tapping it till you get the right brightness or the right volume, etc. Now, the MacBook Pro 2016 is an amazing machine. It is a little bit overpriced, or a lot overpriced, but it's a great overall machine. Now, I have had some serious problems with it. I have had it crash a ton of times. I've had the touch bar just lag out and won't work at all. Again, crashing, it overheats a ton for me. One of the keys doesn't work, the X key, so I just don't think it's a refined enough laptop that every single person should just go out and buy it. But if you want to be on the bleeding edge of technology, go ahead, buy it with all means. It's not going to be a bad choice. And don't forget to subscribe because we are starting to become a lot more active on the channel now that finals are over. And we will be answering again questions on Twitter and in the comments. So if you have any questions at all, please just ask them and we'll get back to you and answer every single question and comment that we get.